Welcome to Mindset Mastery Moments, the best growth mindset podcast recognized by Million Podcasts and ranked as a top mindset podcast by FeedSpot. We're proud to be in the top 1% on Listen Notes. Join Dr. Alisa Whyte as we explore powerful insights and strategies to elevate your mindset. Let's dive in.
If you've ever felt smart but still struggled to focus, if you've ever worked hard, stayed up late, highlighted everything, reread the notes for hours, and still bombed the exam, or let's just say you've quietly wondered, what's wrong with me? Let me say this clearly. Nothing is wrong with you. What's wrong is a system you were taught. Today's conversation is for students, professionals, parents, leaders who are done blaming themselves for a broken approach to learning. Because here's the truth about schools that they never teach. Effort does not equal effectiveness. Willpower can be very much unreliable. Structure changes everything. Well, my guest today is living proof. My guest, he went from failing 5 exams and nearly getting kicked out of university to graduating with straight A's, not by studying harder, but by learning how to learn. Today, he's the founder of The Study Coach. He has helped over 175 plus students achieve 90% plus grades in fields like medicine, engineering, law, accounting. And he's also built a 500,000 plus global community and generated over 323,000 in coaching revenue in under 3 years. But what I respect most is this. He doesn't shame people. He doesn't hype hustle. He teaches a science-backed structure that works with your brain and not against it. Tom Vorselen is here with us today at Mindset Master Moments. Tom, welcome to the show. I am really glad you're here. Tell us in your own words what you do and why you do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alisa, for that prompt introduction. That was really good. And I want to first take some time to acknowledge the work that you're putting in, right? It's so much time, so much effort to create continuous high quality podcasts like this. And I'm super honored to be part of that. So if the people who are listening to this haven't done it, make sure you go to the platform where you're listening to, leave a review and a like. I've done mine earlier today, so once this is going live, you'll probably see it then. So yeah, let's dive in. For the people who don't know me, which I can completely imagine, my name is indeed Tom Vorselen. I am the founder of The Study Coach, and indeed across social media, we've gathered over 500,000 followers. And what do? I help indeed students and working professionals who struggle with procrastination, weak study habits, feeling constantly overwhelmed, and eventually they end up feeling stuck, stressed, maybe disappointed with the results. They have to retake the exams or the courses. They're failing to make that promotion. And that way they start to think, maybe I'm dumb, not smart enough. And that can be super frustrating. And we help indeed with science-backed learning methods, time management skills, such that they can feel in control again, reach their goals without burning out and wasting hours on tactics that don't work. So what do I have for your listeners today? Science-backed methods, learning, time management, productivity. If that is your field, we're here. And I think why they should care if they are listening and they have someone in their surrounding, maybe it's themselves, indeed, maybe it's parents of their kids who see them struggling. Yeah, let's provide some value and get this going.
Oh, I love it. So let's start here where most people are afraid to admit they've been. You weren't struggling because you were lazy, and you weren't struggling because you were distracted either and you didn't care. You were failing inside a system that never taught you how to learn. And I love that because there is a way to learn. So take us back to that moment when failing multiple exams, academic probation looming over you. What was really going on internally for you, Tom?
Yeah, great question to start. And I think the best way to explain is it indeed by trying to visualize what it looked like, right? Let's imagine a 17-year-old boy at the kitchen table with all of his notebooks open, all of the lecture slides printed out, highlighted in yellow, pink, purple, you name it, and just reading that over and over and over and spending countless hours, and then going into the exam, coming back and seeing a fail.
Whoa.
How would that feel?
Can't even imagine.
That 5 times in a row
Whoa.
was very frustrating, very disappointing, and made me indeed start to doubt myself.
Yeah.
Am I not smart enough? Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe university is like too high. Maybe I should start working, change degrees. All of those limiting beliefs came up. And my parents, they eventually said, Tom, I don't think we have an effort problem here. I think we indeed have a method problem. And my dad found this learning coach. And this learning coach traveled 3 hours across the country, which is for Netherlands purposes very, very long. Maybe in the US it's a bit closer.
Yeah, that's closer, definitely. We'll
Yeah,
do that
for us
for
it's
work
like
some
a
days.
yeah.
Some people drive
for
that just
us
to get
it's
to
a
work.
huge big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he came to our house and he started to teach us about science-based learning methods, how to overcome procrastination, how to learn with better learning methods. And I passed all of the retakes. And since then, I never had a retake again ever in my life. So I felt completely empowered again, confident that I can learn. And no academic challenge was too big for me anymore because I felt now I can take on the world. So transformation from absolutely self-doubt destroyed to confident passing, and now helping indeed others do the
Others
same,
do the
which is even
same.
cooler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. What I want listeners to hear in our conversation that is a distinction that you didn't suddenly become smarter, you became strategic. The question I have for you, Tom, is what was the first belief you had to unlearn about studying or intelligence that changed everything for you?
I think it's indeed the methods that all of us just copy paste. So if your listeners are listening now and they recognize themselves in any of the things that I'm about to share, this is not because you are doing it wrong. It's probably because nobody ever taught you how to do it. It's rereading and highlighting. Biggest time wasters in terms of learning. So if you hear this and you think, oh yeah, I'm always rereading and highlighting, why is that
Yeah.
wrong? I will explain it very simply. It's only consumption of material, which is great, but
Uh-huh.
learning actually happens with retrieval of material. So once you read
Retrieval.
something, try to recall it. And
Mm-hmm.
then there's a bunch of other learning methods that I can dive into and talk hours about. But if
Right.
there's one takeaway, stop rereading and highlighting because you're wasting your time.
And so we are so prone to do it. I can't tell you. Even in offices, I go and people have a bunch of highlighters, this tool, and some people won't live without them. And they've got every different new version of highlighters. Now, let me tell you, Tom, what I use highlighters for. I use this for legal documentation. I use this for when I have to ask a question. Okay. So
Yeah.
if there's some material that I'm reading and I don't have clarity when I read it, I could not comprehend it. And if you were to ask me, I didn't know what the heck it said. That's when you would see me use my highlighter. I am definitely not one to highlight. Now, one of my study methods, and I would love to hear you comment on this, I love to have a notebook. So let's say even when I was younger, it's the same way I studied, is I would have my textbook and then I would read passages and then I would sit back and I would start to write questions that I make up from the book or the material I'm reading. And then I would go back after I'm done, I put the book away and I will now try to answer those questions and go back to see if my answer was right in the material. Now, I may have put an X around where I might have asked the questions. And then I would attempt to go to my mother. When I was younger, my mother used to have to deal with me. And then when I was married, my ex-husband did because I was in college when I was married. I would be like, you know what? You know what, Mom? And did you know the system we have is mostly essay type questions? So you had to be able to write to answer your questions. And based on you hitting main points, that will determine what your grade would be. I still prefer that because I feel like based on interpretation, people don't have enough window to explain what they learn. But let's face it, we're in the United States. It's 5 options, pick one. That's what we have, right? Can you comment on my way of studying, which I still use today, and whether or not that makes sense to even be a way for a learner?
Yes, for sure. I made a YouTube video about ranking study methods, and the
Uh-huh.
methods that you've been using are definitely in the A tier. And there is only one small improvement that I think could be made to make it S tier, like superior tier. The first method that you described, where you indeed say you create questions after you have read something, it actually has a name in the science of learning. It's called the SQ3R method, which means
Wow.
that you start with surveying the textbook, you create questions, you read it, you try to recall and answer your questions, and you review it. So, very well done. Maybe unconsciously you've been using
That's
this
from years
method.
ago, and I still do it.
Yeah, perfect. So, also for the ones who are listening to this, indeed survey your material, create some questions on a blank sheet of paper, then read around the bold words, italic words, the headings, and try to recall the information.
Uh-huh.
The second method that you mentioned is actually named after Richard Feynman, a very famous physicist. This is too hard for me to explain with my Dutch language.
Okay.
And that basically means you're indeed explaining and teaching concepts in your own terms, which you did with your mom. So also
Yeah.
very good learning method. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
So I guess for me, instinctively, because I think I've never been diagnosed with anything, right, Tom? But I feel like in school, the old way, I guess in the school, the way my teachers taught, it was to understand. It was to really learn and apply the knowledge. But I find as I got older, even in college, they were teaching me to test. And to this date, and this is probably why I have a podcast, to this date, I'm anti because I feel when we're teaching students to the test, what use are they in society? Because when the test is done, they're done. And I feel like that's partially responsible for why we have a poor working system because a lot of people are people, but they don't have applicable knowledge. Like if you don't give them all the steps, they can't do anything. They can't
Yeah.
innovate. They can't do anything. So tell us about how us not understanding learning of itself and systems of learning, it's helping us lose the actual quality of what we produce in the world.
I really like that question. And let me think through how I'm going to answer that in the best
Sure.
possible way.
Yeah.
I think what you mentioned comes down to indeed developing skills of critical thinking. And I think that is what we are lacking when
Mm-hmm.
we are just teaching to test, how you
Mm-hmm.
said that.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I'm geeking out on this stuff, but
Let's go.
there's 6 layers of learning, Alisa. There's 6 layers
Yes.
of learning.
Yes.
Remembering, understanding, applying, evaluating, analyzing, and creating.
Oh my goodness, I
The
love it.
majority of people are being stuck at memorizing and understanding. They use
Mm-hmm.
flashcards. They might indeed try to recall some basic facts and they understand it, but they never really get into how does the knowledge apply in a real life situation. And
Mm,
they also don't test themselves on creating judgments, comparisons, or indeed creating something new with the information that they have.
yes.
So that is where indeed multiple choice questions are never tapping into that kind of thinking. Therefore, we're not training people to think critically in terms of, okay, why should we choose method A over method B, which is the analyzing and the evaluation part. So if we don't do that, we don't teach people that. And therefore, yeah, they don't develop that thinking skill.
Wow. That is profound and I would say spot on. And I 100% co sign what you said, right? I absolutely believe that. So let me ask you this. A lot of people, I guess the conversation is getting more consistent we're hearing on it. So many people believe that if I were disciplined enough, if I were motivated enough, if I was focused enough, this wouldn't be so hard for me. But you teach something radically different. You say structure beats willpower. Break that down for us in real terms. Why does willpower fail, especially for ADHD brains and overwhelmed professionals?
And this is a question I get so many times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine today I was calling with one of my one-on-one students, and she was 36, and she worked part-time in the hospital, and she was doing biotechnical medicine degree. She was doing a biotechnical medicine, super complex field. And
Mm-hmm.
she has been feeling overwhelmed, and she has been having anxiety attacks going into exams because of past experiences, because finding things too difficult. And I spoke with her today, and she said, Tom, the change that I made, it is unbelievable. I passed the exams with a B plus and an A plus and an A in the mathematical courses that were causing me like literally anxiety attacks. And
Wow.
I asked her about her, like, hey, what do you feel has been the biggest change? And she said, yeah, creating structure and overview in my schedule such that I have a better idea of what I need to do at what moment. That gives the brain a lot of rest because the brain doesn't want to anticipate things. It likes to
Mm,
know what is coming up next. So
mm,
when we, in terms of learning, start to strategically think about what we need to learn, when we need to learn it, how we need to learn it, and we see that on a calendar or like a planner, our brain thinks, oh, okay, this is what we do next. And the
mm,
more you do it, the easier it becomes, like anything else. But that reduces the sheer willpower of sitting behind the desk, rereading and highlighting and feeling extremely exhausted and dreaded and feeling like
mhm.
you've not made any progress. It's a completely different.
So I love that because willpower shames people, but structure frees them, right? So,
Mhm.
with this example that you give us, how was the structure removing the guilt and the mental fatigue for your students or for this particular student?
The mental fatigue was mainly reduced by indeed showing her how to do something instead of her old ways, where indeed she was believing that only with sheer willpower and a lot of effort and a brute force she would get through it. And I told her, that's not the way. I've been there. That's not the way,
Mm-hmm.
like I told you in the beginning. And we started to show her indeed exactly which learning method she could use. Some that I
Based on
just shared
her
with you.
needs. Yeah.
Yeah, based on her needs. We help them create structure and overview in the beginning because we can't expect that we just show them once and
That
that
they
they
get
can do
it.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we literally do it together in our workshops or in our one-on-one coaching calls. And that way, we first do it together with them, then they do it by themselves and they ask us for feedback. And then after that, after 3-4 months, they can do it by themselves and they can continue. So, yeah, it's a matter of doing it together, showing them, teaching them, and giving them feedback.
Giving them feedback. So I want to break it down a little bit because more and more in my work, as I work with individuals who I'm teaching different things, whether it's workforce development or I'm teaching them how to build their own podcast, I've had come into people who are saying the way my ADHD brain works. Now,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if they really are aware of it or they're just thinking this is my function. I'm not sure if they're diagnosed. But if you can break down for us, because someone's listening and they were drawn into the episode, but they may not necessarily be diagnosed with ADHD, but they're struggling as if they were ADHD. What's really happening in the brain for a child or an adult who is suffering with ADHD or ADHD-like symptoms?
I think the most important mention here is that I'm not a doctor who can diagnose any of that. So let's
Absolutely.
just be clear about
Let's make
that.
sure none of us are on that. Yes.
I do know a thing or two about it, though. The first thing
Right.
is that there's 7 different types of ADHD.
Wow.
So if you are diagnosed and you don't know exactly which type you have, then get that figured out. And you can do that by indeed Googling it and maybe asking the doctor that helped you. Because depending on the type, different approaches are needed. Some brains need more stimulation, some ADHD brains need less stimulation. Some need medication, some need more breath work and just anxiety reducing natural methods. It really depends on that type that they have. So that is what I can share for sure. The second thing, if you think that you have ADHD like symptoms, first look at your screen time on your phone. If it is high and you're watching too many short form reels, then that is probably already the reason why your attention span is shrinking.
Oh
What
my
we've seen,
goodness, I agree. I can see that
yeah,
happening.
people are now having an attention span below the one of a goldfish, around 7 seconds, where it used to be 12. And that is mainly due to the rise of social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, short form reels, where we are never really challenging ourselves anymore to focus for longer periods. And therefore, we're losing this muscle. So if you're listening to this and you think I have ADHD, don't jump into conclusions by yourself.
Right.
Ask yourself indeed, hey, am I spending too much time on short attention tasks? And try to focus on that first. Like read 5 pages of a book. Staring
Or
at the
just
wall
listen
for
to
2
this
minutes.
entire podcast, this
And
episode.
don't quit after 23 minutes.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are the 2 most important remarks. And as soon as we figure out with the students who have ADHD, they are some of our best performing students, because as soon as they know how they indeed navigate with their ADHD and we find indeed the way of stimulating them or understimulating them or structuring it for them. I've had a lady, 58 years old, ADHD, anxiety medication, being super overwhelmed, scoring top 10% of her class, only 95% and higher grades after working together. So it's not an excuse. It's definitely a superpower once you learn how to
I would
master it.
say I found, when I was teaching earlier in the earlier years, that people who had been diagnosed once, I was not necessarily particularly trained to work with people with ADHD, but I guess for me, I call it common sense. Look at how they respond. I tested different formats of training and teaching my student for them to get results like the other children. So my classrooms were always inclusive, meaning it didn't matter what your struggle were, you can be in there. And my goal was always for you to get the result, but not for you to always follow a particular road that says, everybody come here, do this now. It was, I want us all to have a picture at the end that talks about how we think Rome was built. Whether you want to use markers and pencils, you want to sit on the carpet, you want to sit at the desk, you wanted to just curl up over here by yourself, you wanted to work with someone else. This is all I want. I want you to have this experience and I want to have an end result. What are you going to do? I'm going to do blah, blah, blah. And I worked with younger kids at that time. And I felt like that was the best time when I was able to understand human development because I studied it. Now working with younger children, I find when I worked with adults now in college, uni, or even high school, they weren't very much different than those younger kids. It was the same method.
And they probably still want to use these playful methods. Trust me. If you ask adults to draw and to build with Lego blocks, they will do it and they will feel a bit childish again, but that it engages, makes the learning fun. So absolutely love that. Yeah.
I know, without giving away secrets, one of my partner, he does a list of games in his presentations to hundreds of people. I've seen him do it with over 1,000. I've seen it done with 200. I've seen him done with 50. But when he brings out these games, excuse me, when he brings out these games, thank you. You should see how the adults light up, but he uses it to teach them a principle on team building and also internal motivation. And that relates to everyone. It breaks up the room of high-level CEOs and everything. So, but again, learning is different for everyone. And this is a thing that I struggle with when it comes to traditional educational systems, is that it's not. And more, because of what you listed, these short form reels, the way our system is set up, the accessibility to these devices and other devices like these, we are not what we used to be anymore with anything. And still yet school is so traditional. It's still the same way. That hasn't changed the format as anything at all. And I visited schools recently and it was like, no, I would tell you there was at least 30% of the classroom who were so disconnected. The kids were they were like 8th or 10th grade and they were just sitting there pretending, but they weren't doing anything. And when you ask them, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't understand. And I was just visiting. So for me, I was able to empathize. But then you look at the teacher in the classroom, and they're like, oh, he just doesn't listen. He just don't want to do it. He's just lazy. And I'm looking at her like, you
Pointing the
shouldn't
finger
be
at the
here.
kids.
Yeah, I'm like, you shouldn't be here. I want to fight with them. Because if that's what you think is happening, because there's no young child who does not want to perform and prove themselves to be successful for the teacher, for their parents, amongst their peers. Adults might be more rebellious, but young children want to be successful so bad. They want people to please, feel proud and happy about them so badly that they would do anything in their power to prove that they can do it. So for me, can you make a comment? And if an educator is listening or a parent is listening and their child is that one who is struggling, what would you say to them right now? What approaches should they take?
Yeah, beautiful question. I think if you're listening to this as an educator or indeed as a parent who is in a position who might think we're trying everything with our kid, but nothing seemed to work, that is also completely fine, right? We don't expect everyone to have all of the solutions to every problem in the world.
Come on.
The thing that I do always look at is indeed what is within our power. So the example that you just gave there is when a teacher says, yeah, this kid that, this kid this, I would highly recommend them to read the book Extreme Ownership, which is all about looking at your own skills and your own actions that lead to certain results. So never, ever, ever say that it's someone else's fault or their problem. And I think especially as an educator, I look at my students not passing, for example, an exam, because again, we also have people in engineering fields that are super complex. I always ask myself, what can I do better to give this person the best support or help such that he's going to succeed? Because I look at my actions and then see how they can help the person on the other side of the camera or on the. I would recommend to not look at or point fingers, but look at yourself. And for parents, indeed, be okay with your kids not proceeding as you wish, but do look for help. And help can be in many different ways, right? It can be indeed counseling, it can be coaching, it can be a simple tutor. There's so many ways of help these days. So if you can't do it yourself, just also say, I can't do it myself, but I'm going to look for a solution for my
Love it. That's great advice. Now let's talk about procrastination because this is where people beat themselves up the most. And you argue that procrastination isn't a character flaw, it's a feedback loop problem. Can you explain that?
I will try to explain it in the most simple terms. So here's what happens when we experience something. Our brain looks at that situation through the lens of past experiences. So, example, we have failed an exam in the past. So, our association with this course is that we are not good at it, that it is difficult, that it is hard. We failed it, we feel bad, we feel stupid. Now we have to retake this exam And the internal thoughts are the exact ones that I just shared. I feel stupid. I feel bad. I can't do this. And when we think those thoughts, we will feel bad. We will feel stressed. We will feel anxious and we feel worried. Now, what happens when we feel anxious, stressed, and worried? Our brain wants to simply avoid this feeling. Hence, it's going to grab the phone for distraction.
Right.
The distraction, the procrastination might be spending quality time with your partner because that
Yes.
feels better
Than
than
dealing
working
with
on
it.
that difficult exam. Exactly.
Yeah.
Procrastination can have different shapes and forms. Unfortunately, the result of this avoidance behavior, this procrastination, is that you probably will either fail the exam again, which is reinforcing the belief that you are not capable and that you're not smart enough. So then it becomes indeed a negative feedback loop where you are training yourself. I can't do this. I can do this. I can do this. And you have stacked a lot of proof that you can't do this. I just spoke with someone since 2007, been taking ACCA exams, which is for accountants.
Yes.
And he said, I failed them, so I quit. I tried it again, but the internal dialogue already told me I can't do this. I failed so many times since 2007, Alisa. And just this week, he decided to sign up for a coaching program 20 years, almost 20 years after starting the program. Just imagine how much potential this person has, quote unquote, lost in terms of income potential, promotions, job opportunities by indeed not beating this procrastination problem and this internal dialogue that he's not capable.
Wow. So
I think that's
definitely.
insane.
And this is, I love how eloquently you put this. And so I am definitely going to hone in on that because I feel like you put it so simple that even a caveman can understand it. Because a lot of people I know in the adult world, they struggle with procrastination and they don't understand. And I actually have said it, but I guess I haven't been saying it right. So next time I'll tell my team to edit that part. And can you just give me a link? So next time someone's procrastinating, I'm like, trust me, it's feedback. Here, listen to what Tom said, because he explains it best. I've been saying it's not your fault that you're procrastinating. It's because you are afraid. That's my low-key explanation. You are afraid. You are afraid. You're afraid to fail. You're afraid to not bring, because people say, someone might say, well, Tom, I didn't have feedback. I never did it. Well, you might not have done this activity, but you have not seen momentum or you haven't been successful in this particular area in your attempts. And what you don't want to do is experience a letdown. You've had maybe so much letdown in your life and in your work in this area. So now you just don't want to experience it. Or maybe you just went through divorce. Maybe you just went through a loss of a parent or a pet. And so you've lost so much. The last thing you want to do is lose anything. So you don't want to take a risk. That is a feedback. So walk us through how you help your students or clients overcome dealing with the negative feedback loop of procrastination.
Yeah, before I touch into that, I want to emphasize that indeed this principle, the core belief paradigm, how we call it, is based on cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yes, it is.
And can be applied to indeed any challenge in your life.
Yes.
I've had to apply this methodology when I was dealing with relationships. I was thinking, oh, my past relation this. Therefore, I always avoided getting in touch and like opening up, and I was self-sabotaging. It works the same with relationships, with health, with studying. Any challenge that you have probably created an internal dialogue that makes you feel stressed, anxiety, or overwhelmed, and therefore avoiding it. So yeah, like not only applicable for studies, also applicable for anything else.
All of your life, yes. And that's, again, and that's you mastering, that is mindset mastery when you master the art of understanding, acknowledging the feedback, and then taking these actions that Tom is going to give you. Walk us through those steps, Tom.
That is indeed the step-by-step process. I think we created a procrastination protocol And if
Mm.
the listeners stay till the end, they might get access to that. Wink,
Mhm.
wink. So
Nudge,
indeed, what
nudge.
we do with them is we literally sit them down and we walk them through these questions. What are my thoughts around the task?
Mm.
What are my thoughts? Now, they might say, hey, it's too complicated, it's too difficult, it's too overwhelming, etc. And then we ask, what are the feelings that are associated with it? Because indeed, we have to become aware and we have to acknowledge. So they might say, okay, thinking about this already makes me feel stressed, anxious, or worried. The third question is, okay, when I feel stressed, anxious, and worried, what kind of actions do I take or actions do I not take? The procrastination. What are results of these actions and what are the long-term consequences, such that we look at it in a longer time horizon.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
The next step is that we want to, of course, get out of this negative thought process and shift it to a positive thought process. And we use something that we call the direct method. And this is based on the book from Navy SEALs who deal with very challenging situations.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is the direct method, the D stands for detect, detecting your negative thoughts. The I stands for interdicting them, literally saying, okay, stop, I'm thinking negatively. This is probably not true. Let me just sit here for a second and walk myself through this.
Mm-hmm.
The R allows them to redirect. So redirect the thought saying, okay, I have an actual stress response now. I'm feeling overwhelmed. But if I start to structure it, if I create more overview, I've been going through a lot of challenges already, so I can accomplish this as well. So more the positive reinforcements. We then want to energize them. So literally saying, okay, I can't fail if I don't quit. I'm the person who is going to take action. I'm going to start for 5 minutes. And that energizing them, say it with a smile, say it with energy. Direct, the C stands for communicating it, and the T stands for training this. And then we flip the thoughts to more empowered thinking, which will make us feel good, which will make us feel empowered. And when we feel good and empowered, it's easier to take action. We do take the action. We do see the results coming back in our grades. And then we have more positive consequences. And then we have one of these success stories as today who said, Tom, I had B plus, A plus. I never thought this was possible. I didn't go into exams because I was so anxious. And now she said, I'm a completely different person and I feel I can take on the world. So
Whoa.
that is how we do it. Yes.
I love that. This is so big. That is so. And so you all, listen, you already have such a shift that Tom just delivered to you. Stay till the end because he's got a surprise for you. Let's talk a little bit, Tom, about school, what school never taught us. This might be one of my favorite part of your work. 1,000 hours in school and almost 0 hours learning how learning actually works. You talk a lot about active recall versus passive studying. For the person listening right now who is still in the rereads, the notes, the highlights, everything and feels productive, but they're not still retaining, what do they need to know right now? And why does active recall feel harder but work so much better?
Super, super, super good question. And I think you mentioning those facts is so important because I think it's
Yeah, it is
insane
huge.
that
I
we
was
spend
blown
so
by
much
it when I
time.
saw it in your work.
And it almost makes me mad, right?
I know.
Like the fact that we see that 90% of students experience high levels of stress and indeed procrastination due to that stress is coming from the fact that 84% of students use inefficient and ineffective learning methods, which can be solved by educating them in high school, primary, or indeed still in college and university. But for some reason, they're not implementing. I know that these days they are implementing it a bit in the K-12 schools in America. I think they're very much
Some,
doing
but they're still far
test-based
behind.
learning.
Yeah.
I did listen to another podcast regarding that. But if you're listening to this and you're eager to upgrade your learning methods, then indeed one thing is throw the highlighters away because you don't need them. And what I highly recommend is indeed Start being curious as if you are a 5-year-old child and questioning everything. So what Alisa already shared with us, when you're reading through a book, don't read it from front till back, because all of these authors had to fill it up with a lot of fluff. Shout out now to the authors in any shape or form, but you also fill your books with a lot of unnecessary
I
information.
know.
So we have to get through that, right? A study book,
Yes.
350, 400 pages. So only look at bold words, italic words, cursive words, images, diagrams, titles, and convert all of that information into a question. What is the definition of? What is the difference between A and B? What are the 5
Why?
steps of the
Yeah.
list? Why is this important? What was this person's role in this history? Why is that important? Etc. Start questioning. Because what we do with questioning, we direct our attention to solve a problem. And never
Yes.
is as tempting for the brain as an unsolved question. So if we start questioning, we are putting way more attention to the learning. And
Yes.
therefore, we're trying to come up with the answers by reading, watching a video, or searching for it. And then that active retrieval is strengthening the neural pathways in the brain with 200%. Don't ask me how they came up with that number, but they say 200%. So use it. Okay,
Use
that's
it.
what they say in the research papers. I can share a couple with you if you want.
I would love that. Yeah, and we can add
yeah.
it in the description for this episode as well. Now, let's talk about those adults, those people who are juggling everything. They're working full time, they've got families, they're studying for certifications, boards, or career defining exams. What's the biggest mistake working professionals make when they're trying to study the same way they did in school? We already know we got to throw this out. He already told us.
I think that is the big mistake, that they're using the high school. No, they're using the high school methods, right?
Yep.
And with this group of school goers, or indeed exam takers, the adult learners, let's pick age 29 till the oldest person I worked with is 61. So anyone in between, you have definitely experienced that gap where you didn't get education about learning how to learn. That is like guaranteed.
That is.
So indeed, if you are looking for these new methods, it's great because it's going to save you hours of hard work and it's going to save your grades. But I think the most common mistake, the biggest problem that people who have a full-time job and have kids is that indeed their time and energy management should be managed very well, because, hey, working a full-time job is demanding. You are putting in thinking energy, you're dealing with nasty clients, weird questions, like it drains your energy, right?
Yes.
We can't get away from that. So when you then come home and the next thing is 2 kids who need to get fed, put in bed, the only thing that you want is to sit on the couch, put your legs on the chair and watch a Netflix episode. So we have to be very cautious there where we spend our energy, how we maybe delegate or delete tasks from our board, and be conscious about when we spend our study time. A lot of our working professionals actually study in the mornings before they go to work, such that they can tap into their full brain power and like productivity, instead of trying to push it in at the end of the day when everything is already busy and you are already drained. So
And you have to find that time when you're most productive and you can ask those questions that you told us, and you are doing a productive way of learning. When I in my adult life, as I was going to college, I would come home from work, prepare dinner, have dinner with my husband at the time, and then we would just relax and have a regular night. But then my day started. That would be done. We would shut things down by 9 p.m. and then my day started around 3:15 in the morning. And
wow. Okay.
I would wake up and I would do 2 to 3 hours of studying, and then I had to hit the road. Well, mostly like 2 hours. I hit the road at about around 6. I had to go to work. So I would get up and that would be it. That would be my day. And then my day again ended again. So I had 6 hours, about 6 hours sleep maximum, which was not enough sleep. I mean, I guess at that time it was. Now it wouldn't last. I need 8 hours now or more. I need more,
Yeah.
a little bit more sleep now. But back then I was good on 6 hours. Once I had 6 hours, I was in peak. So I was able to catch it. And I would say, generally speaking, I'm not a morning person, but I couldn't do it during the day because my energy, usually the way how my body is, I would say around maybe 3, maybe 2 o'clock is when I'm in my peak zone in the day.
Okay.
But I already give it to work. So I had to find my next peak zone for studying. So what was my next peak zone? If I stayed up all night to study, I would spin my wheels and it would start around 1 in the morning. So I couldn't do that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to have to sleep, get my rest, and wake up fresh. So my day just started early. That's all. So I did get my studying in.
Massive respect. And thanks for sharing your own story. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
But you have to find, again, I was an adult and I was in university. But for many people, I think the principle that you've given us is what I'm saying is find your space. Find your right time that's ideal for you based on your schedule. It might not be ideal, but it's the one that is best suited and most available to you. Somebody else might do it completely different. They might do it maybe 10 o'clock at night. I don't know, but you're working. So you have to be careful because clarity comes when you're able to rest. You have to get these brain breaks. You got to take care of your brain. You got to drink a lot of water to stay hydrated. You've got to get protein so that you can, the brain, think about feeding your brain as well. So let's talk a little bit about mindset as it relates to this and the identity shift that needs to make. We are a mindset show, right? You don't just
Yes.
change your study methods, you change your identity. And what point did you stop seeing yourself as bad at school and start seeing yourself as someone who could master complex systems?
I had the same question when I was going live today on Instagram. I think it's about when do you become self-confident about something, so mastery of something.
Mm,
And the example is fairly simple. If you ride a bike and you fall 10 times, do you feel confident in riding the bike? No. If you
right.
do 10 exams and you fail 10 exams, do you think you're a good studier person? No. Now you go to a pro Tour de France runner. I'm not sure if you follow that in America, but it's the biggest cycling race here in Europe, right?
Yes,
You
I
go to
do,
him
but
and
I've been since I
you
was younger. Yeah.
yeah, you tell him, teach me how to ride the bike. And he's going to tell you how to balance, how to shift the gears, how speed is going to help you balance. And now you only fall once. Do you feel more confident riding the bike? Absolutely. It's the same with studying. You come to us, we teach you learning methods, we teach you how to manage that with your work, with your kids. We are going to tell you that the beliefs that you have, the mindset that you have around learning is not true because you've just been falling on your face with the
With
learning
that,
bike. And we're going to teach you the new methods. You've passed your first exam, you pass your second exam with better grades, and you become more confident. So self-confidence is built on proof, a proof that you have with yourself. And that is built by indeed making mistakes, but most importantly, learning from your mistakes. And I highly recommend to reach out to someone who has accomplished what you have. So indeed, if you want to
yes,
start a successful podcast, I would reach out to you because you
exactly.
have one, so you can teach me how to do it. So I'm not confident in starting my own one right now because I've never done it before. Where should I start? I would go to you
Come
and
to
you
me.
teach me.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the
And that is
best.
indeed a
That's the only
mindset
cheat code
shift.
you
Like,
had. Yeah.
yeah,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. It's about indeed embracing a growth state of mind. And I think most important is being vulnerable with your limitations,
Come
development
on.
points. Just say like, okay, I can't do this myself. Completely fine. I will go to someone who can. I'm going to pay them money because it's going to move me forward in my life. And even I invest in business coaches. I have a YouTube coach. I have a
Yes.
business coach. I have a speaking coach at the moment because I want to get better at all of these areas.
Right.
Mm,
Exactly. There's
yeah,
that's the only cheat code. And you don't ask for help because you're weak. You ask for help because you want to remain strong and I would say become stronger. That's why you ask
exactly.
for help.
Beautiful.
And knowing to ask for the right help is obviously someone who has excelled in that area that you're working on. So, absolutely. I love it. That's very, very powerful. So, because once identity changes, behavior follows.
Yep.
Behavior follows. And that's where you get the results. So, let's do flip the script. Right? It's where we talk about a time you had to completely flip the script mentally. What were the old way of you thinking and what is it now that you do that's bringing about the change and the trajectory of where you're going, Tom?
What was the old way of thinking,
And the
and what
new
does
way
the new way of thinking?
that's changed the trajectory of where you're going. Like what shifted,
Mm.
what did you unlock, and how did it change everything?
In the last 9 years, there's been so many pivotal moments for me that
Mm.
have led to me being where I am right now. For the ones who are listening, I'm 27, by the way.
Wow.
So I haven't been on this earth for so long,
Wow, that's amazing.
but I think the way of thinking has definitely helped me. And it started when I was 15, and one of my gifts was a bungee jump.
Mm.
And my parents gave me the bungee jump because they said, well, we think this is cool. And it actually had a completely different impact on me. I was standing on that bridge. It was 100 meters high. I don't know what that is in feet, but it was high,
Yeah, that's
like
high.
the type of high that you get, tickle in your stomach when you look down.
Yes.
And
That's like 120
eventually,
feet.
yeah, I think so. I did the jump. I survived. And from that moment, I said, if I survive jumping off this bridge, I'll probably survive any other challenge in my life as well.
I agree.
And with that mindset, I went into the bachelor and I failed the exams. And I said, hey, I survived jumping off the bridge. Like I can survive this as well. Then I got
Yeah.
the opportunity to study abroad. I was 18, moving away to New Zealand, the complete opposite side of the world, on myself. I survived this and this. I can do this as well. Going into my master's, like same mindset. I survived XYZ and I could stack, right? I could stack my proven track record of
Of
accomplishments
pushing. Yeah.
that made me think, okay, now business. I was like 3 years ago. I survived this, and this. I know my work ethic is good. I know I'm curious. I know I learn fast and I'm not afraid to ask for help. I think these
Mm.
components together
Whoa.
will make me
That's
successful
a
in business.
success formula. Yes.
And yeah, now we are here. And in my opinion, I'm super happy with the results that I've been getting so far. And we're just getting started. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you have given a success formula. You really have. So now, what is your definition of success beyond the grades, the followers, and the revenue? And what mindset does someone need to adopt and reach that level of success that you've achieved?
To achieve the things that I personally have accomplished, is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
or to just to be at the level of success. Period. I mean, it might be something totally different for them, but what do you think the mindset that they need to adopt? I think you kind of already tell us, so basically, you'll be repeating it because you give it so well.
I think the most important question is, if you are listening to this and you have higher goals for yourself, you also have to ask yourself, what am I willing to
Mm,
sacrifice for it, right? Like I said, I'm 27, but the last couple of years I've sacrificed a lot of things in terms of time with friends, time with family. Why? Because I want to grow a global business where we indeed help people with these challenges. Requires work. It's now Saturday evening, 9:30 p.m. that we're recording this.
Netherlands, yeah.
And I do this because I absolutely love what I'm doing and I'm super passionate about it. But you do have
Yes.
to ask yourself, am I willing to indeed make that effort and make that change? Because
Mm,
it's not going to be easy. Last month, I had a terrible month in terms of mindset. I'm going to be honest. I reached out to my
mm.
coach and I said, we just had a 250,000 year in business, and I feel unfulfilled or unsatisfied because I was having negative comments on some posts. One student was being a bit of a struggle, let's
There's
say so.
always that
So
one.
I let all of these negative experiences like
take the majority of
take
your
me
thoughts.
the majority of all of the tops away. So it's still always this tug of war where, yeah, like it's not only like sunshine. It is a
Yeah.
lot of rainy clouds and thunder, especially in the beginning on embarking on an entrepreneurial journey. But also indeed going through a new learning journey. You're going through phases where we call it the valley of despair, where it's like nothing seems to work and we can't fix this. But those are the moments that we have to continue and work. And yeah, this week I had 6 signups for our program, and it's like, whoa, okay, everything is shiny again. So it can change from
Yes,
one moment to the other. Yeah,
it
which makes it
does.
hard, but also fun. Yeah.
It's fun. And I love, first of all, thank you so much for your vulnerability. And that's what I love this about this podcast. Because me and my guest, we are not gatekeeping on formulas and the secret to success and how our mindsets shift back and forth on the spectrum. I tell people there's no positive mindset and negative mindset. There is a growth mindset, and a growth mindset is a spectrum. And we have times and periods and moments when we can be anywhere on the spectrum. What you said was, look, some stuff was not looking maybe how I expected it, and my mindset went down the drain a little bit. But you said one key thing to your success is you always know how to ask for help. So you went back to your coach and you're like, look, and I bet your coach go, okay, Tom, I hear you, but have you meet these goals? Look here. And then you're like, surprise, surprise, I did. And I have 100% track record of overcoming adversity. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm about to do. I'm going to take action on these things that I can work, and the ones that are out of my control, I'm just going to keep moving, because now we're going to
Exactly.
500,000 and then we're going to go to 1 million. So, what now? How do you define success? What is your definition of success, Tom?
Oh, my definition of success is doing indeed something that I love every single day, because the business that I'm in, we're making great revenue, but all of that is straight reinvested such that we can impact more people, reach more people, and do more of what I think the world needs. And yes, that sometimes is hard and difficult, but the majority of the time it's amazing fun. It's really
So
cool to build a
fulfilling.
team with like minded people and indeed seeing the impact that we have. So I think success for me, it's not defined in the things that I have, the things that I do, but just going to bed, being satisfied. Did I grow? Did I become a bit better? If I can say that, then yeah. And today is one of those days where I'm like, yep, this is what success feels and looks like for me, being able to join a podcast like yours, spread some value, hopefully, and yeah, make someone else's day a better day. That's
Well,
it.
you already did make mine. So you
Awesome.
made my day. I am so blessed, honored, and encouraged to have you here at your age with the mindset, with the way your mind is set, with your work ethic, your commitment, your drive, and your discipline. I am literally sitting in the presence of greatness. So a few months, actually, not years, a few months from now, I'll be like, that's Tom. And so he's part of our Mindset Mastery Moments inner circle. He's part of my network. I know who he is. I know what he's about. You want to think like Tom, because a lot of times when people think about a coach and a mentor, they only think about you teaching them what you know. But my dear friend and my partner, Dr. Kareem R. Ellis, the true Les Brown, the world's biggest motivational speaker of our time, says that some things are thought and some things are caught. So while we're listening to your teachings and your method of how you help people break through when they're working on their goals with exams and school and education, what if a listener or a viewer is observing, if they listen to your mindset and how you think through stuff, those are the things that will caught, that will be the biggest transformation. You see, Thom, I believe that our biggest legacy is how we walk, how we talk, and how we show up in the world, bigger than what you teach, right? So just your being and your essence and how you think through life and you think through situations is a radiating example for any individual, whether they're 16, whether they're 14 or they're 60. We can all learn from just how you show up in the world. So thank you for being you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we're going to do mindset bites to go before we wrap, and Tom comes back and tells us about this amazing tool he's brought for us and how we can connect with him. Tom, I want you to give our listeners something they can act on this week. If someone feels overwhelmed, behind, or stuck in procrastination right now, what's one small structural change they can implement immediately that will create momentum? I'll step away from the microphone and the camera, and it will just be you and the listeners and viewers. So here you go.
Beautiful. So, if you're listening to this, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed, and you don't know what to do, there's this simple exercise and this simple rule that I would like to share with you. And it's called the 5-minute rule. The 5-minute rule is very simple. You're going to sit down for 5 minutes and you're going to work on the task at hand. You're either going to create overview about all of the maybe little tasks that you need to do. You're going to think through what the next steps are, and you're going to spread that out. Work on this for only 5 minutes, okay? The reason why is because in the first 5 minutes of doing a task, your adrenaline and cortisol is really high. And as soon as you start working on the task for 5 minutes, you will feel that the levels of stress and anxiety will drop, and you will see that motivation and momentum kicks in because you're seeing the progress, the dopamine starts to hit in, and you will feel a lot better about what you are doing. So trust me on this, only start for about 5 minutes and then you'll see a major difference. And you can use this method over and over. I used it the other day. I had 12 videos to watch for a course that I'm taking myself. And I was, this is a lot of work. So what I did, I sat down, grabbed the 12 videos. I said, I'm going to start with the first one, work on my homework there, work it through, grab the pen and paper, write down my to-dos. And guess what? Before I knew it, 1 hour was gone. And I actually completed the task.
There you have it, folks. There is the big tip of the day to get you going and moving in the direction of accomplishing your dreams. But, that's just a little bit, and everything we've discussed here with Tom is just a little bit of what he does with his clients and the people who work in his programs. So, Tom, we would love for you to dish the tea on this surprise tool that you brought for our listeners and viewers here at Mindset Mastery Moments, and also share with us too one of your favorite ways that we can connect with you and Disruptors. As you know, we always have the links in the description wherever you're listening and watching to this. Go ahead, Tom.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation, and I think you're providing a lot of value just by this conversation. I learned a lot from you as well. So that also inspired me to indeed do something and give. So what I'm about to share with your listeners is something that they can't find online. So you can't find this on my Instagram. You can't find this on my YouTube. I created it specifically for your listeners. And it's called the Study Breakthrough Bundle. Okay, and it's consisting of 2 things. But before I tell you the details, let me share who this is for and who wants to indeed tap into this. It's for either a student or a parent of a student or a working professional. So maybe you're working full time and you're constantly battling that procrastination, that feeling of overwhelm, that time pressure, and you think, hey, it's time for me to study efficiently, stay consistent, and actually remember what I'm learning instead of the rereading and the highlighting.
Yeah.
So right now, if you're working hard and you don't see results, you're frustrated, you're doubting, and you're wondering if study is really for you. We got you the proven science-backed methods to help you, okay? The first thing is a PACER study blueprint. And this is a step-by-step framework that helps you to study smarter using active recalling methods, secret memorization strategies, and a guaranteed way to remember what you read.
Wow.
So that is going to help you with studying faster.
Yes.
The second thing, and this is something that right now is only available for paying clients, but I thought, okay, let's grab my best stuff about procrastination and time management and put it
Wow.
together in anti-procrastination masterclass series. So this is a video training and a workbook specifically designed to help stop procrastinating, planning your week, and build that unstoppable consistency. It lays out
Wow.
that exact method about the core belief paradigm, the thoughts, feelings, exercises with that. So again, you can't find that anywhere online. It's at the moment only for paying clients.
Wow.
So
I'm just so honored that you would do that for our listeners and viewers, because that is a huge tool just to begin with. It's life-changing.
yes. So what this ultimately does, hopefully, if you're listening and you're actually implementing what I teach in these videos and courses, is you will eliminate procrastination, stay more consistent, and achieve better results. So if you want that study breakthrough bundle, you can go to tomvorselen.com. So my first and my last name.com /mindset mastery. And you can grab it. So once again, if you want that PACER study blueprint and the anti-procrastination masterclass series, you can go to tomvorselen.com /mindset mastery, which I set up exclusively for this podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, because there's so many people that I already know, even in my community, that needs this. The word might be out way before the episode comes out. Okay, now you guys have to rush this episode, because it will save so many people that are just struggling right now to even get going. And I'm probably just, you should just pay me for free advertising, because I'm going to be mentioning this to all my entire community. I'm going to go live online and talk about listening to this episode and following, getting these items. Because here's the thing, Tom, people really feel like something's wrong with them. I'm telling you. And whether they're ADHD or not, we're never going to know. That's up to them, how they want to deal with that medically. But I see so many of adults, people who are coaches, people who are speaking, people who are training, people who are corporate professionals who have consulting organizations, but they're procrastinating on getting, and they ask me, how do you keep going? And I'm like, first of all, I'm committed. I'm clear, I'm committed, and I'm consistent, and I can do hard things. I want to give up. I tell people at the end of the day, I'm just a girl. I like to sit there on Friday nights. I want to sit there from anywhere between 10 and 3 in the morning and watch rom-coms or action-packed movies and eat popcorn and drink wine. However, because on Saturdays I record my podcast, I got to get to bed at 10. If I'm drinking popcorn, and I probably don't want to drink wine because I don't drink wine that often. When I do drink even a half a glass of a wine, I need an extra 2 hours of sleep to wear it off. I get so relaxed. So mostly I don't get to drink my wine. Right? And then on Sunday mornings, when everybody is probably sleeping in or having a special breakfast with their fam, I'm having meetings with my team and my staff from around the world at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So if I'm going to sleep in, it's probably till about 8, because if I don't get up, then I will be muggy and have bed here to get on my meeting with my team. So there's something scheduled for me all the time, but I'm clear, I'm consistent, I'm committed, consistent and committed in the same sentence, and I'm always doing the hard stuff. So with this, people will understand that negative feedback loop with the procrastination. They can see where they're standing at. So again, from me, and so when you guys download this and you start working on it, the minute you get your first breakthrough, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to his page. He's going to tell you where to go, or email, and let him and his team know how it is transforming you. Tom, tell us, what is your favorite way for them to connect with you?
I would love to have them on my Instagram. Instagram is @the_study_coach. And we have indeed a community of right now 530,000+ followers from all over the world, and growing daily. I think that shows the need for the resources and the knowledge that we share. And hopefully we also share it in a nice way with different carousels, long form, short form, to educate everyone in their preferred @the_study coach.
So thank you for your work and for your gift and what you're doing and for bringing so much clarity to a mess of confusion in so many of our lives and our households. Something that's keeping us back and holding us from going forward in our lives. And to our listeners, remember this: stop blaming yourself, build systems, structure, unlock focus, keep mastering your mindset, think, speak, do become, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.